Mario has been around my whole life. Honestly, for just about all of our lives. Through the good and the bad for both of us. But no other franchise reaches the absolute highs and lows of New Super Mario Bros. It's kind of interesting. For anyone born before the 90s, it's basically fact that these games are as subpar as Mario platforming can get. But if you ask someone born between the 90s and 2010, well, most of these games defined their childhood. And as long as you never touch them after you turn 12, you'll probably still look at them with fondness. But with age, unfortunately comes the hard truth. These games aren't great. Sorta. For all the obviously bad things with this franchise, there's still lots of positives. And it may not be as good as you remember, but it's most certainly not as bad as you were told. The franchise started in 2006 with New Super Mario Bros. On the DS, and it must have been either this game or Wii where I started out my Nintendo career. If not for these two games, we would be on an entirely different timeline. Who knows, I could have been an Xbox fan. Or worse, bald. But instead, I'm a Nintendo fan. And, well, it's better than alcoholism. I never actually had a DS of my own at the time of this game's release, but you can be rest assured that I was always watching over the shoulder of my siblings playing this game. However, it was never actually the platforming or game itself that any of us cared about. No, if any of us were playing New Super Mario Bros., we were playing the mini-games. And with today's sponsor, Southern New Hampshire University, you can learn how to make your own games. Unlimited games, with the only limit being how cool you want them to be. With SNHU, you'll learn everything you need to make a solid gaming experience, with the core programming languages of C#, C++, and even Java if you want to try that out. And if you don't know a thing about making games yet, there's no worry, because SNHU's faculty has real-world experience and will help you with every step along the way. If you dream of crazy boss fights, you can do that. Or if all you want is cozy beach life simulator, then you can make that too, with lessons in 2D and 3D game development, art design, and physics, alongside with giving life to NPCs. And even if game development isn't your forte, Southern New Hampshire University has dozens of more online programs. So if you want to help support this channel and your future, sign up for free information at snhu.edu/arctic to see how your future can be changed with SNHU. Again, sign up today at snhu.edu/arctic. The mini-games were the best, and if you've never actually played this game or Mario 64 DS, you probably have no clue what I'm talking about. But if you do know, then tell me. Are you a picture poker kind of guy, or a sword or explode kind of fella? When Nintendo released Mario 64 on the DS, they didn't want to make it a simple remake of the N64 game. So, alongside completely reimagining the original game in many ways, they also added 36 completely brand new minigames, which could be progressively unlocked with Power Stars and Rabbits. And by all accounts, the only reason I would ever play Mario 64 DS back in the day was for the minigames. I wasn't all that good at the actual game in the first place, so the minigames were a great way for me to waste my life. Now, this is something I've never admitted before, but you know the Love Me minigame where you pluck flower petals, right? Well, it is entirely possible that I legitimately used this as a way to see how someone may have felt about me. Unfortunately, when I tried to see if Luigi loved me back, it always came back negative. Back on New Super Mario Bros., I was almost certain that every minigame was ported straight from Mario 64. And I was basically right. In the single player category, there are 18 games, 2 of which being completely original. Then in the completely brand new Versus mode exclusive to New Super Mario Bros., we got a total of 24 games with 12 completely original games. So overall, New Super Mario Bros. Has more games, but if you don't have any friends, you wouldn't notice much of a change. If anything, it's less. However, I wasn't entirely friendless. Often when waiting at the bus stop with friends, we would crack open our DS's and play Mario vs. Luigi. Mainly because if we realized the minigames were multiplayer, that's all we would play. Mario vs. Luigi is very simple, but believe me, when you're in a 3-star to win game and you're both tied at 2, it gets real intense. However, I really wish I knew that we could play minigames together back in the day, because it's so much more interesting. Take 12 minigames from Mario 64, make a multiplayer, and add 12 more. It's pretty great and takes up a bulk of the minigame selection. So it's really unfortunate when you are friendless or lack average comprehensive skills. So the minigames in New Super Mario Bros. DS were great. What about the rest of the game? No. Going into this game, I was absolutely certain it was the best of the franchise. Then I actually played it again. It's solid for a game you'll quickly pick up and play for a few levels, but really lacks the necessary substance I need in my Mario. However, to start out, this game had an awesome power-up, with a few spares. In this game, we saw for the very first and last time, the blue shell power-up. And I will say, it's awful, but in the best ways. The blue shell is ideal for any Mario-loving speedrunner out there, because all you need to do is gather enough momentum, then you duck into its shell and bust through everything in sight. When a level is designed to use this shell, there's nothing better in the world. But that's exactly the problem. It can only be so useful out of the simple run and jump levels, which is an absolute bummer, because when this power gets the chance to shine, it's brighter than the sun. But this game never did anything with it. In fact, you can't even discover it in normal question blocks. Beyond the blue shell, we also got 2 more newcomers, the Mini Mushroom and the Mega Mushroom. How original. Again, both of the power-ups, or rather power down in the case of the Mini Mushroom, are interesting when used correctly, but are practically unusable if the level wasn't designed for it. With the Mega Mushroom, there's dozens of levels where it's simply impossible to use, which, well, makes sense, and they're not going to give you a Mega Mushroom if you can't use it, but in the levels where you can use it, they do next to nothing with it. With Mega Power comes Mega Responsibility, and when they made this game, they just couldn't see the vision. On the smaller hand, we have the Mini Mushroom, which is pretty important. Most notably, it can be used in Worlds 3 and 6 to unlock 4 and 7 by beating the final bosses while mini. Before we get into the bulk of these games, we should see what connects them together. Or rather, what makes them all the same. Straight away, the names. Half of them are New Super Mario Bros. Plus console name, and the rest are either named off their console in hindsight, or lying about being the second game, despite being the 8th game in Super Mario Bros. And the 3rd game in New Super Mario Bros. Each game follows an 8-world system, give or take a few special worlds, with the main order of grass, desert, snow, ocean, jungle, cloud, and lava, with snow and ocean swapping around occasionally. And we'll get to you later, New Super Mario Bros. 2. Most of the maps are so similar, I even wasted an hour trying to fit them all together in one giga map. Here's one where I tried to keep all landmarks pretty close, then another where I let loose and did whatever for the geography of the Mushroom Kingdom. As for items, they never went too wild, which is an oft-reoccurring statement for the franchise, as we only got the Mushroom, 1-Up Mushroom, Starman, and Fire Flower in every game. And, well, Mario without a Fire Flower is like cookies without vanilla. It works, but it loses some flavor. Then, for some reason, we also got the newcomer Mini Mushroom in every game, which is like cookies with gravel in it. It works, but I don't know why you would ever choose it over a regular cookie. And the last thing before we get into Mario DS, the bosses. Oh, the bosses. If not for New Super Mario Bros. DS, out of the other 3 games and infinite bosses we could have fought, I could count the amount of unique bosses on one hand, and still have 4 fingers left for Lemmy to chew on. Because out of we, 2, and you, the only utterly brand new boss is Boss Sumer Bro. I was kinda surprised to find this out, but out of all the Koopalings, Kameks, and Boom Booms, all of them were taken from some older game in the franchise. The only game to actually introduce new ideas to the franchise was New Super Mario Bros. DS, with just about every world actually getting a brand new boss. Well, not completely new, but it's far better than the offerings we got in the rest of the games. Speaking of bosses, these games are hard. Back when I was younger, I could hardly get past the desert world in each of these games, and I definitely wouldn't make past the snow world. So when I finally came back to these games, surely I would be a whole lot better. And, well, I beat them, but I died far more times than I'm proud of, and even just the desert world of New Super Mario Bros. DS took the life out of me, literally and figuratively. As I'm writing this, my nephew was playing the same castle level I died on a dozen times, and he beat it second try. So, maybe I'm just bad at platformers. However, in Mario Wonder, I had no problem not sucking, and I feel that's because the platforming is so much more finely tuned. Even in New Super Luigi U, the platforming has to be tight because of the 100-second time limit, so I can't help but be one with Luigi. So, the level design of the other games aren't necessarily bad, but definitely different in a way that makes them far less fun for me. Luckily enough, you never have to play all that many levels, because these games continue the tradition of warp zones, and having the option to play absolutely anything but the water worlds. In New Super Mario Bros. DS, there are a total of 80 levels, but with warp cannons and skips, you can get away with only playing 20. Really, the best part of these games is how little you actually have to play them. But then we miss all these bosses. Like I said, bosses are one of the weakest points of New Super Mario Bros. Except for this game. Every final castle except World 1 and 8 have completely-ish new bosses. In World 2, we get this beautifully designed mummy Pokey. Super cool looking, and pretty tough challenge to beat as Mini Mario to unlock World 4. World 3, nope, don't like water levels. In the jungle of World 4, we got this Mega Goomba, which has to be one of the coolest places to be Mega Mario, if you manage to bring one with you. In World 5, we got Petey Piranha, and that's all I need to know to be positive that this game has the best bosses. World 6 is a tank. That's all. Then World 7 is Like a Thunder, which is weird, but I'm all for it. And last of... if only this was where the game actually ended. The actual final fight is just another standard Bowser fight, but this time he's bigger, and Bowser Jr. is there too. The biggest thing keeping me from saying DS is the best New Super Mario Bros. Game is this, and this alone. The final fight truly makes or breaks a game. I believe there's two aspects to any final boss that are required to make a well-rounded experience. One, they need to take everything you learn throughout the game and make you apply it. In the case of Mario, you better be jumping the best you can. And two, it needs to be climactic. I'm saying a quarter of the budget should go straight into the pizzazz of the final fight. If I don't feel like this is the coolest and most dramatic thing in the entire game, it's bad. Many games, especially Nintendo games, opt to split these two requirements into different phases. And it works fine, but it's always going to be best to do both together. However, New Super Mario Bros. DS completely forgot Part 2. And that's why this game will always be below anything that has a climactic fight. Now, Dry Bowser may be exactly the same as Bowser when has milk, but the design is so perfect. Maybe I shouldn't admit this, but I will always choose to play Dry Bowser when given the option. Whether it's Mario Kart Wii, or Mario Kart 8, or Ultra Smash. Wow, they really underused Dry Bowser. It's almost like he's Luigi, who you can play as by holding L, R, and A when selecting a file. Why did they keep this secret? I mean, it says it when you beat the game, but I wanted to be Luigi from the start. Speaking of secrets, secret exits, secret tunnels, and most of all, secret star coins. Well, the coins aren't all that secret most of the time, but all of these little secrets are the reason I would ever return to these games after today. My little collector brain can't help but adore the hunt to find all of them. You never get anything too interesting, but the joy comes from the hunt. Why else would the most dangerous game exist? And no, I'm not talking about New Super Mario Bros. 2. Well, not that New Super Mario Bros. 2. Let's get to the second game in this franchise, that isn't named New Super Mario Bros. 2. In 2009, the whole world erupted with speechlessness to the release of New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Well, not in the way you'd hope, but this game absolutely looks great, red box and all. It takes what players loved most in DS and brought it all the way up to standard definition. And best of all, you don't have to experience this game all alone. This game boasts consecutive 4-player multiplayer, so we can all have fun being thrown off the edge by our friends. And as I said, this and DS were some of the very first games I remember playing. And just like DS, I'm bad at it. However, I can't use the minigames to distract me away from my failures because, well, they're gone. I'm not really sure why they completely got rid of this minigame thing they were doing with Mario 64 and New Super Mario Bros. Because it was so much fun. But minigames of this nature never appeared again on future New Super Mario Bros. Or anything for that matter. I guess on that end, we're stuck with Mario Wii does feature some accessory modes though, and I don't think I ever played them once. Probably because they require friends again. And it's not even worth it. These modes are basically free play for any level in the game, which you can already do, except now you're forced to play multiplayer, and it keeps track of your score across levels. Coin Battle is slightly better with a few unique levels, and it actively encourages competition, but it's nothing to write home about. But this is Mario, dang it. You're not here for free-for-all or coin battles, you're here to beat Bowser, and what? The game is already over after 12 levels. Well, you could play all 76 levels, and some of the world map designs like Rock World and Desert World are so stunning I almost don't want to skip them. But it's insane how little you actually have to play if you know what to do. Of course, it's entirely up to me whether or not to skip this game, so whatever. At least I have the propeller cap and Yoshi to soothe my angst. If there was any item to add to this franchise that would make it a 10 out of 10, this would be just about as close as you can get. It's still not a 10 out of 10, but it doesn't mean the propeller cap didn't try. It's not even that great of a power, but it feels so Mario. I mean, you're not going to find something like this in Xenoblade. Well, if it is Xenoblade you want, then try the penguin suit. Yeah, I don't get it either. But the penguin suit is just about as close as we can get to the blue shell, and I'll take it. It's sort of a mix of the blue shell, frog suit, and ice flower, which also exists now. Cool. It sounds weird to say it's like the frog suit, but yeah, with the penguin suit, swimming in the water actually becomes slightly bearable. Slightly. Just like DS, Wii has secrets. Wii has the best secrets. We ain't gonna tell you what those secrets are though. Just walk into any random wall and you'll get coins. Or concussion. But the semi-transparent walls in this game make it the best for star coin hunting, cannon skips, and helps this game have some of the best ghost houses possible. Now, here's something I didn't really feel the agony of until Luigi U. But after going through all these games and Mario Wonder, I can say that I really don't like the little toad stages, or enemy encounters. Before playing these games again, I would look back to these enemy encounters with fondness, as a cute little distraction from the game. But after actually playing the games again, that's all they are, a distraction, and not that great of a distraction either. They can only be so useful in the terms of the items they provide, and they really kill the pace of these games. Really, if you're desperate for items, you're always better off going to a Toad House rather than risk dying in one of these. Now the Toad Houses in Wii are really interesting. I never talked about the DS Toad Houses, but that's because there's nothing to talk about. Here in Wii, you play a little game of memory match, but if you get Bowser, you throw your console into the trash. It's entirely luck-based, but man, climbing those fences were fun as a kid. This game has a pretty interesting story. So, you're having cake with Peach until all of a sudden, reptiles. So, Peach is kidnapped and Mario and the gang run after her while Toads launch items into the air for basically no reason. Compared to DS, pretty solid setup. Now, because this game marked the first return of the Koopalings since Super Mario World, it's forgivable that they were used here. However, it's still very unoriginal since they already had two games. Bowser and Bowser Jr. make sense to have in every game. maybe even Kamek, but the Koopalings are just clones of Bowser Jr. Sir, each Koopaling has their own gimmick, but as far as things go, aim for the head and watch the shell. I mean, every Mario boss is like this in that all you have to do is jump in their head 3 times, but at least DS was somewhat unique with the altered enemy types. But none of that matters because we're on World 8 now, and nothing can stop me now. Not even Bowser. See, look at how easy that was. This is exactly what I'm talking about when I say I need a climactic fight. Just until a few years ago, the farthest I could ever get in this fight was maybe here. But I've grown since then, and now we defeat Bowser. After a few dozen attempts, because as sick as this fight is, it's also super difficult all things considered, which is perfect. This is exactly what I'm looking for in my Mario final boss fight. It's got jumping, it's got flying, and it's got a giant Bowser with nothing that can stop him. I literally have no requests of this boss. It is perfect. Please, never ruin this. Never mind. We're on the fake Real New Super Mario Bros. 2 now. A little over a year after the 3DS launched in the USA, we got New Super Mario Bros. 2. A game that, while technically follows Wii, is very much so more of a sequel to DS. While it's certainly confusing for the average consumer to call it 2, it makes sense as a sequel to New Super Mario Bros. On DS. It even goes as far to bring back the Mega Mushroom, and it's just about as useless as it was originally. Funnily enough, I think the best use case of the Mega Mushroom is actually in Super Mario 3D World rather than these 2 games because of how frequently you actually use it to unlock secrets. Now, I didn't really have a 3DS for most of its life. It wasn't until Christmas 2017 when I finally got my shining, shimmering, brand new red 2DS. It's not like it was a bad console, and I asked for it since it was cheaper, but it's pretty lame compared to the 3DS. I understand how people enjoy the flat form factor of the 2DS, but the portability and 3D gimmick makes the 3DS far more desirable to me. As you might know, since it was the cheapest and one of the most common models at the time, the red 2DS included New Super Mario Bros. 2, and I'm quite positive I annihilated this game within the first week. That's right, I'm finally mediocre at these games. I had all but 100%ed it. However, I never gotten the titular 1 million coins. You see, the whole gimmick of this game is coins. You know the useless little things you pick up in all these games? Well, that's what you get to do in this game. What do coins do here exactly? Still nothing. I can't complain all that much though because it is pretty dang fun to go after all of them. And here it is again, tingling my collector brain. One partial downside to the coins is the fact that you receive an ungodly amount of lives. If you're bad at Mario, this one is surely the one to play then, because you'll have no worries of being sent back to the beginning of a world. Alongside several gold-based items like the Gold Flower, we also got Raccoon Mario returning from Mario Bros. 3 and Mario 3D Land. I appreciate this item, but in my nostalgia-blinded eyes, it doesn't hold a flame to Propeller Mario, or especially my favorite power-up, which we'll get to in a moment. That's even ignoring, once again, how unoriginal it is. It's so tiring at this point. They got rid of unique bosses, they got rid of unique worlds, and this game hardly even has unique powers. It's very easy to see the fatigue growing in the franchise at this point, because we were getting these games every 3 years at this point, with this one even sooner than that after the Wii. While this game honestly has the best gimmick from far away, all these games look like the same game. In the eyes of the average consumer, it looked as if they were simply re-releasing the game every few years for the new system, like it's a virtual console game or something. Absolutely exhausting. Even Nintendo's hardest fanboys were over it by now. But as you've likely heard from anyone reviewing these games, this one was the best. Right? Maybe for them. But after returning to this game after Wii and DS, man, do I not enjoy this one all that much. It's not like it's bad or anything. None of them are bad, but this one feels so bleh. I really didn't feel anything this go around. I didn't coin hunt as the game might want me to, but knowing how little coins really matter, I didn't want to bother with it. This game doesn't feel like something the developers wanted to make. It feels like something they were obligated to make. The coins honestly aren't a bad idea. They're not. But when everything else feels so hollow to me, it's lame. Speaking of lame, this world. No, not Earth, although that definitely has its own problems right now. No, the world lineup for this game is vile. I understand that I just asked for everything to be more unique, but this is wrong. So here we have 6 worlds, but that just means those are the 6 worlds they actually tried with. For what would be worlds 4 and 7, instead we got a bunch of lazy space worlds labeled Mushroom and Flower. Except, these worlds aren't actually based on space or anything, it's just a mashup of whatever backdrops and crap the developers could pull together. The only saving grace of them is that it removes the water world. Except, even then, I can't be happy because they also removed my favorite rocky world. I absolutely wanted some kind of shakeup with the way the worlds were designed, but this is just lazy. Special worlds should be just that, special. A little bonus you get for completing the game. But these 2 worlds are just laser replacements for water and rock. They even have their own Koopalings, so don't go telling me that they are special worlds. You unlock each of these exclusively with warp cannons, which keeps them in the same vein as DS's Worlds 4 and 7, except those were actual worlds. I'm ready to be done with this one, so let's just finish the final castle. Oh my gosh. The final castle in this game is so good! It has no right to be this interesting, but they actually pulled it together in this one. Throughout most of the castle, you're being chased by the Koopaling gang in their clown car as they flash you with the intent to turn you to stone. The only way to survive is either to cheat or hide behind these walls. And man, this might be my favorite final castle ever! It's so fun to avoid the Koopa Flash mob trying to maneuver around all these surrounding obstacles. And guess what? The final boss fight is even better. After your usual Bowser lever fight, he grows to epic proportions and you get to jump between different rising and falling platforms to avoid the crawling lava. It perfectly encapsulates what I said earlier about a climactic fight that forces you to take your experiences in the game and put it to work. I might say that this is even better than Wii, but I still hold back from that statement due to Bowser ultimately feeling less threatening, as here, the real villain is the lava. Although I didn't really expect quite as big as Wii with the limited capabilities of the 3DS, the best I could have asked for was to at least bring back Dry Bowser. And guess what? In the actual special world, as one last final treat, we play through a brand new final castle, with the same Koopa Flash mob as earlier. But now, as a true final fight, we face the one and only Dry Bowser. If not for nostalgia, I'm sure I'd replace this fight higher than Wii for the spectacle alone. But you truly cannot beat the beauty of Wii. But damn, does Dry Bowser get real close this time. Screw it. This one's better. On to New Super Mario Bros. U. Just after New Super Mario Bros. 2 released, literally only 3 months apart in the United States, we got New Super Mario Bros. U. Truly, at this point, everyone was completely exhausted of this franchise. It's kinda unfortunate because this was the first game in the franchise made for an HD system, which should not be all that impressive at this point. But it's a beautiful game. The art style of these games were never all that impressive, but I absolutely appreciate how much artistic effort went into every aspect of this game. Visually, the world map is incredible. They still follow the same old exhausted pattern of worlds, but each are uniquely named off of food. And best of all, it's completely seamless. There's nothing I love more than a seamless world map such as this. Just think about how much better Super Mario 3D World would have been if every world was directly connected. Not like that game's bad or anything, but you know. I'm sure you've likely seen this Van Gogh painted level that everyone wished the entire game looked like, but it's not just this level. So much of this game looks good, and if only they did something more unique with the character art style, I'm positive this game would be regarded as one of Nintendo's best looking 2D platformers. I mean, the competition is basically just Donkey Kong and Chibi Robo Ziplash, but this game is definitely right in between those two. This one is one of the first games I ever bought with my own money. When my brothers got a Wii U randomly one day in 2015, we all talked a little bit about which games we should get first. Mario Kart 8 was already included with the system, so there's no worry about that. After seeing dozens of commercials with Mario U and remembering just how much I loved the game on Wii, I absolutely begged and prayed for my brothers to buy this game before anything else. Which is why I'm so happy they got Splatoon and Smash 4 instead. Smash Bros for Wii U is such a fun game, and after I got over being upset that they got Splatoon instead of New Super Mario Bros. U, I absolutely adored it. You cannot beat how great Splatoon was for Nintendo in 2015. I will be eternally grateful that we didn't waste $50 back in the day to buy New Super Mario Bros. Instead. No. It wasn't until January 2019 when I actually bought this game. As a matter of fact, I bought it on the day one release. I didn't even mean to, I just happened to go into GameStop that day with $60 in hand and left with disappointment. Honestly, I did enjoy this game when it released, but only Luigi U. I never actually beat Mario U until a week ago. Now, in all transparency, I didn't miss much. Mario U has the exact same problem I had with DS because, compared to Luigi U, the platforming is so open-ended and slow that I don't really like it. There can absolutely be slow platformers I enjoy, look at Donkey Kong after all, but in Mario, I'm always running straight to the flagpole. Even if I am the problem here, there's nothing in New Super Mario Bros. To encourage me to take my time, sub for the star coins. Now, just because I didn't own the Wii U game back in the day, doesn't mean I don't now, because I got money. Anyways, I threw a few bills into the trash to replicate buying this game and opened up Cemu. For the first time in New Super Mario Bros., you can finally play as your Mii. Only in the side modes. Except that doesn't even matter because the modes here are actually pretty solid. Nothing will compare to the minigames on DS, but the challenges here are incredible. All of these feel straight out of Mario Maker 2, which is pretty impressive because that game wasn't made for about another decade. These levels are exactly the kind of platforming that I love. Boost Rush is another mode that has the same speedrun vibe that I love. Although it uses levels straight from the game, not necessarily made for speedrunning, so it might be a little more awkward, but still fun nonetheless. Lastly, Coin Battle, which requires friends, and reminds me too much of New Super Mario Bros. 2. So let's get to the gamepad features. Like I said, I never owned this game on the Wii U back in the day, but my best friend at the time did, so we would always play this game together. Of course, we older kids got to play with the Wiimotes, while we let her little brother have the gamepad. Multiplayer on this game is a little bit more special than on Wii. We still have the 4-player multiplayer with Wiimotes, but right alongside it we also have a 5th player on the gamepad. Usually designated as the little sibling mode, where it either makes the game a whole lot better / funnier, or a whole lot worse. As the 5th player, you get the ability to place blocks on the stage and reveal 1-up moons. It's simple and honestly, kinda fun. It's not like you're really playing the game, but it's alright. But that's enough of this game that I barely played. Let's get to the real New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, also known as the same game as on Wii U, but slightly better in some ways and slightly worse in others. Worst of all, it adds Toadette, who is really fun to play, but is the definition of cheating. Toadette gets the exclusive Peachette power-up, which is nearly identical to another newcomer, the Acorn, my favorite power-up, but additionally launches Toadette away from any voids or lava. Super OP, but that's not even what I'm mad about. It's okay to have an easier character for worse players. What I'm mad about is the fact that if you never even selected Toadette, it will still give you the crown at Toad Houses, which becomes entirely unusable. Using it without Toadette doesn't make you Squirrel Mario. You can't even get big from it. It just takes space from your inventory. And another thing, to quote, "Make room for Toadette," they removed one of the slots for Toads, meaning in 4-player Mario U, someone will have to play as the super easy Toadette. And in Luigi U, 2 people have to play as the super easy players, since Mario was replaced with Nabbit. It's really lame and was really easy to avoid happening. But whatever. Nabbit, by the way, is one of those Toad kidnappers who was made playable for Luigi U, as Mario is most likely terminated in this game. As much as I enjoy the art style of this game, I don't envy the fact that we only have to play 19 levels of the 160 levels. Except, funnily enough, due to Luigi U's shorter and easier levels, I managed to beat all but 2 worlds in this game as the same time it took me to speedrun Mario U. I genuinely enjoy both of these games nowadays. They definitely weren't my favorites initially, and going into this project, I was pretty sure they wouldn't be the best, but they are, more so Luigi U. They're really solid games. Did they save the Wii U? No. But it's fun, except for that final boss fight. It's not bad here, and the castle is a decent challenge, but it's so boring compared to the Wii. I love that Bowser is on the same plane as Mario here, but that gameplay loop of avoiding Bowser and taking Bowser Jr.'s con car is so boring and definitely doesn't fulfill my boss requirements. Well, requirement is a strong word because it doesn't necessarily have to be the biggest test of knowledge from the game. I mean, that could just be the level leading up to the boss. But the fight at least still needs to offer its own unique value, if not being a major test of strength. And unfortunately, I really don't think this one holds its own. But I really love that final scene with Bowser. And I guess that's all. There's plenty that I didn't talk about. It may not seem like that based off the time code, but there's plenty of things I simply couldn't be bothered to talk about, like the Gold Rush minigame in New Super Mario Bros. 2, or the repeating castle designs in each game, especially with DS repeating the same background over and over. But that's a story for another person, another day. At last, the real question is whether or not these games were really that bad. Clearly, New Super Mario Bros. Was a flawed franchise, but it also has lots of great things. Maybe we're blinded by hate, and these games aren't that bad. Maybe Mario Wonder was too hyped. I mean, it can't be that good. I really wanted to go into these games saying that they were great masterpieces that are blinded by hate by the masses. But after Mario Wonder, I can indubitably say that this game is perfect. It has platforming perfect for anyone, from the slow and steady players to the perfectionist speedrunners. The bosses may not be super interesting, but the Wonder Flowers entirely make up for that, with completely unique things in each and every level. And Bowser. The true final fight of this game may not exactly require the most skilled platforming, but the absolute spectacle and raw joy I get from this fight perfectly makes up for any complaint I would have otherwise. But with all that, I'll send you off with something I said in my very first live stream of this franchise, which you can watch back on my VOD channel or see future casual streams at twitch.tv/ArcticJackW, link in the description. Have you played the DS New Super Mario Bros? If not, absolutely the best one. Even though, honestly, all of them are still pretty good in their own ways. It doesn't matter which is the best or worst objectively. It only matters which is your favorite. And if you loved New Super Mario Bros. DS because of the minigames, that's okay. Or New Super Mario Bros. Wii for the 4-player chaos, that's okay. If you liked New Super Mario Bros. U for the beautiful world designs, that is okay. And if you loved Luigi U for the quick and tight level design, that's okay. These games may not be perfect. Heck, they might not even be good, but they're Mario. And if you enjoyed anything these silly plumbers gave to us, that's okay. That's excellent. Treasure that. As for me, at this point, I've probably played each of these games and Wonder 4 times each. So I think I'm gonna go completely forget Mario exists for a few weeks and play some party games. Gosh dang it. I'll be back. Keep cool. Bye.